Hello, Fred.
Well, John,
Good to see you, bud.
good to see you too.
You know what? The YouTube fans have reached Fred and John Talks.
They have.
We've got something special for them today.
I think it's a very meaty subject.
We're going to talk about sex. I know a lot about sex.
We're gonna talk about the sexes.
We're going to talk about the sexes. You lucky people out there. I'm a gynecologist, retired, but I know a lot about women and a lot about sex. Fred is a active, clinically licensed counselor
Mental health and marital.
and marital. So we should be able to handle this topic, and it's all about boxing, Fred, which we know zero about because you and I play tennis, we play pickleball, but guess what? The world is talking about boxing right now.
Okay, but you mentioned tennis. This is about a lot of sports.
It is about a lot of sports.
Boxing is in the news now because of
Correct.
the Olympics going on. But
Yes.
this extends to tennis. It extends to soccer.
Yes.
And I'm sure other sports that I'm not aware of, and that is the gender issue.
The gender issue.
You could, I think it'd be a good idea for you to start with the story you told me about the boxer in the Olympics.
Yes, there was a female boxer from Italy, your favorite country.
My favorite.
By the way, Fred's Italian. For all those women out there who are watching, Fred is still available and unmarried and Italian, and he's a good cook. So I can attest to that. So this Italian girl, Fred, quits her boxing match in the Olympics. She's performing in the Olympics.
46 seconds into the first
46 seconds.
into the first round.
Yes, in the first round with an Algerian boxer. So our role, I think, today, Fred, is to talk about individuals and the importance of individuals, and we want everybody to be able to have some kudos and get some recognition in their life
And,
for
participate.
and participate.
And we want inclusion.
And we want inclusion. Heck yes. What I don't understand is, to me, if this is really an issue about levels of testosterone, or if they can't, if the International Olympic Committee can't come to some kind of conclusion about who is female or who's male, then maybe they need to come up with some definitions about what is a male athlete and what is a female athlete. It's kind of extraordinary, Fred, after how long have the Olympic Games been going on from Greece? I mean, we're talking about a few centuries here. Thousands of
I
years.
think millennia.
And so we're talking about 2024. We don't know who's who. We don't know what's male or female.
Who's who and what's what?
I never had a problem in my practice determining that I was examining a female.
Now, with going back to the Olympic story, so the other boxer was tested and had high testosterone, or was an XY? Get into the chromosomal part of it.
I think what I've heard is several accounts is that the boxer from Algeria had elevated testosterone levels. As well, there was a Taiwanese boxer who also had elevated testosterone levels, and whether they've subjected themselves to XY chromosome testing or not, my understanding was that they were, quote, males boxing as females, and have done for some time, and that the International Olympic Committee decided to allow that.
Okay, and my further understanding is that the International Olympic Committee is at odds with the IBA, the International Boxing Association.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's that creates, I think, even a greater need to talk about what you and I are going to get into as what can we do about it?
What can we do about it? We're about solutions. I mean, we talk all the time about connections, helping people get connected and avoid issues like loneliness and helplessness, etc.
Get help with mental health.
I think I'd feel pretty hopeless if I trained for 8 or 9 years to get into an Olympic team, and I'm now an Italian, on the Olympic boxing team, and I have to quit after 46 seconds because I don't think I'm in a a fair gender fight.
Well, she said later, according to what I saw online, that was the hardest she's ever felt punched. And her headgear, which they wear headgear in the Olympics,
Yes.
her strap was like knocked off.
Knocked off.
Like
yeah.
she said, that's the strongest I've ever been hit.
Dangerous.
Now that sounds like it's coming more from a strong, man.
That's what we presume. So, Fred, what can we come up with to help this discussion? One thing that occurred to me was why about a possibility of other games. I mean, the Olympics are one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Once they get that sorted out, if it's going to be male, female, if they get the gender thing straightened out,
Mm-hmm.
then why can't there be other people's games, OPG, or why can't there be designated gender games?
I like that phrase.
What do you think can help individuals who train and want to play, want to participate?
I think I have two opposite thoughts about it. Of course, these are anticipatory thoughts. They're not facts, and they are my opinions. On the one hand, I think they would have to be very careful planning and designating the how this is going to be structured, the rule book of it, because you can have people come in to a, what's the phrase you use, designated
Gender games. I'm just throwing that out
there.
there.
Yeah. Oh, that's did you come up with that yourself or did you read that?
I did.
No.
I'm pretty clued in about this.
Okay. So the first part of me is would there would be red flags that this could become chaotic. Like, for example, you have these designated games and two people are assigned to play each other, let's say in a tennis match. And one of the players, you talk about 46 seconds, maybe 2 or 3 games into it says, oh my gosh, let's say a woman by birth. Oh my gosh, this person is hitting the ball 100 miles an hour. I can't compete with this, and they drop out. So
you just advance quicker in the tournament. You just do.
Yeah, but as they say, no competition. So I think there would have to be careful scrutiny beforehand to come up with some kind of parity, so you don't have parity, parity.
Okay.
So you don't have a Goliath playing David.
I see.
On the other hand, I think that you came up with something that was a really good brainstorm, because you were saying before, and you can elaborate more on this. What about some of the people who are aspiring to be Olympians, and 6 of them fall short, they don't make the cut?
Correct.
Well, maybe there's something else, another venue for them, because these are still great athletes.
That's what I'm talking about, Fred. If you watch Olympic competitions, it doesn't matter whether it's tennis, track and field, pole vault, some of these athletes have to go home because they can't make the team by one hundredth
fraction. Yeah, 100th of a second. Yeah.
I double fault all the time when I play tennis, and I think that's an issue. What if you missed out because you're 2 100ths off, so you don't make the Olympic team for Italy, or you can't go to the Olympic Games?
Which, here's the therapist in me and the empathy. We see the glory,
Yes.
the opening ceremony and all these athletes so happy, waving flags and everything.
They've made it.
We don't see the brokenhearted who missed by a fraction of a second. But what happens to them? It's like the old song, what becomes of the broken-hearted?
Yeah.
Wait, who had love that's now since parted? What becomes of these broken-hearted athletes?
What about the parents who have put in hours and hours and hours,
and thousands of dollars in training.
And they have to go home.
Yeah.
Get on the airplane, fly home because they're 1/100th of a second out.
Yeah.
I just think that there ought to be some sort of resolution to this so that people who have different strengths, different desires, different ways of looking at themselves. I called it designated games.
Yeah.
Designated gender games. If we want to throw the word gender in there, we don't care which gender they are. We want them to be able to play and have fun and test their limits. I mean, that's what the Olympics are about, is testing your limits.
Testing your limits, and how much we are a nation of sports fans, and how we admire people who spend their lives preparing for these tournaments. My daughter and I last night, we were watching on YouTube highlights of the Olympics, and you can designate, like we watch highlights of swimming matches, highlights of the basketball game, the USA basketball team.
Yeah.
You know what was my favorite that we watched? Highlights of the table tennis, ping pong. I was in awe.
Singles or doubles?
It was singles.
Oh my God.
And this guy from, I think he was Chinese, I think he won back-to-back Olympic gold. Mm-hmm. But his opponent was good too. My daughter and I were looking at each other like saying, how are they returning these shots? I mean, there were slams that they were returning.
Oh, I know. I've watched
from 6 feet away from the table.
Oh, yeah.
And putting spin on the ball.
I've watched doubles and singles, and the South Koreans and the Taiwanese and the Chinese, they're just so good at this.
The skill level was phenomenal. I was blown away. And, anyway.
Well, I know they have other types of Olympic sports that recognize individuals as the Special Olympics. Just think how that's I've always been in favor of the Special Olympics.
The wheelchairs, Down syndrome, know.
Yes. I mean, these people get to express themselves. They get to play. They get to find out what is their limit.
Yeah.
They test themselves.
Yeah.
And that's good. I mean, that's good mentally. It's good physically.
It's really good.
Emotionally.
Yeah.
So I just think that maybe we've hit on something here, Fred, that our YouTube fans should talk about and talk with their friends about.
Trying to start a discussion about it. Not to end on a sour note. I know we're winding it down because we're trying to keep our videos shorter, but I haven't watched much of the Olympics this year, which is out of the ordinary for me, because every time, no, I shouldn't say every time, 9 out of 10 times when I have my morning coffee, after I have my morning prayer time, 45 minutes to an hour, I go online and look up the day's news. And of course, we're in the middle of the Olympics here. Today's August 5th. I think it ends in a week, August 11th or so. And every day there's an article about something that's happened that's controversial in Paris. Did you read about how the Seine is polluted and it's getting some of the swimmers sick?
Yes.
I mean, every day it's about some kind of a shitstorm.
There was complications and controversy over the actual opening day.
Yeah.
When the athletes were on boats.
On boats.
Coming in on the sand.
Yeah.
So, I don't know whether we want to get into that.
I'm sorry to bring up a sour note, but for that reason, I haven't watched. And then, the gender thing, and then this and that controversy, and so was disqualified, and it just, didn't remind me of Olympics past.
It did, yeah. I think it lost its luster for me too, Fred. Whenever I watched the opening ceremony, and I kind of felt like a lot of things were being thrown at me about gender, about culture, about the way to behave, or it was very provocative.
Yeah, and I'm going to name.
Provocative.
I'm going to name not I'm going to use the expression, I'm going to name names. Not names, but I'm going to mention one thing, and I'm glad to see there was a pushback and an outcry about it.
Okay.
Okay, the depiction of the Last Supper of Jesus with disciples
Oh, yes.
and people, men in drag.
Yes.
That was in the poorest taste.
Yes. I agree.
What are they thinking?
As two.
Can you imagine if they mocked other religions? Christianity is the one that's mocked, and everybody says, "Oh, you're too sensitive." But you mock some other religions, you might get your head cut off.
Yeah, correct. And to be truthful and to finish, I would say this was not the ceremony and this was not the location to me that would have been welcome for my children to be watching.
Exactly. It wasn't child friendly.
Enough said.
Enough said.
We're done. Thank you.